Days.
All good.
Lydia Daysall, MMA Connect TV, standing at Team Ryano in Finglas with wrestling coach here in the HQ, Bill McCann.
Thanks for coming out, Lydia. Yeah, we had a good class today, big numbers.
Yeah.
So we're every Saturday at 11 o'clock. We get 20, 30, kind of wrestling for wrestling. Then when guys have MMA fights coming up, focus a little bit more on that. So we've got some really top people here, and we invite people from different parts of the country, show a few techniques. So it's very much about sharing. Today we had the chairman of the Wrestling Association here, Brian Breslin. We got Matthew Elliott coming down from the north, and then our own team of in-house killers.
Absolutely. I mean, anyone who kind of is on the scene or knows anything, you know, in MMA circles, in martial arts in Ireland, there's always, the last couple of months has been this kind of like little creeping, like, have you heard about the wrestling class out in Ryano? You know, it's Bill McCann, he's doing amazing things.
Well, they're all welcome, yeah.
Absolutely. And it's one thing when you watch an MMA fight, amateur or pro, especially in Ireland, one thing that seems to be always missing in the game is good wrestling. Mm-hmm. And I remember when it was the Bonita brothers were fighting last year, or maybe it was the year beforehand, and I remember saying to Andy, I was like, their wrestling is just absolutely incredible. He's like, Bill McCann. That's all Bill McCann. Well,
I don't know about that. They had a really good base when they came over from Moldova, and I first met them actually in Spartan, and then we come here as well. So they're two excellent guys, great attitudes, and they kind of bring the whole thing along. Yeah. So we've got some good coaching courses, the Irish Wrestling Association as well. So I'd recommend that all the people kind of take those and kind of spread the word of wrestling throughout the BJJ clubs, you know.
Tell me about your own background. How did you get involved in wrestling?
Oh, well, I've kind of been in a long time, so a bit of kind of older person, but I wrestled in Canada in high school, and then wrestled in, in college after that. Yeah. And then when I came to Ireland, there wasn't much wrestling, so I got involved in judo, which was great too, and that's how I met Andy Ryan. Yeah. You know, so we've been on the mats for about 20 years or so. So Andy's a big supporter of wrestling as well. Yeah. And we're all cousins, you know, BJJ, judo, wrestling, but we think that this is a good base for everyone here.
Yeah, absolutely. You were saying that when you came over, obviously there wasn't, I imagine, when you came over, a big wrestling scene. There still isn't. I mean, it's starting to creep in. It's starting to get better. We're starting to see a lot of the championships come up, and on social media, you know, a lot of people posting about wrestling. Are you starting to see the increase, or is there still a long way to go?
No, especially with the youth program. So February 16th, the Cavan kind of kids wrestling tournament is on. Second year for it. We'd have about 120 kids there for it. And there's a lot of growth, especially with the young people. And they're absolutely fantastic, great attitudes, great sportsmanship. And it's shared north and south. We got good teams coming down from the north, Barbarians and Loch Esk. They all come down here, Loch Earn. And so it's very much kind of inclusive throughout the whole country. So that's really the future, yeah? Absolutely.
For anyone that does jiu-jitsu and they take, a wrestling class, or there's some wrestling drills at the start of a jiu-jitsu class, you see it in their faces. They're like, Jesus, how tough is this? Because it's high pace. It's such an elite sport. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, what does it take to make a good wrestler or a champion wrestler?
Well, it's really the wrestling mentality, as Cormier says, you embrace the grind. Yeah. So that's really what it is. It's about showing up every week and embracing that grind. And it's all about basics, and your biggest technique is your conditioning, Yeah. So that's basically it.
Absolutely. And if for anyone, any budding our viewers that were, wanted to get started in wrestling, or that wanted to improve on their wrestling game, do you have any tips for them in terms of conditioning and what they can do to improve?
Wrestle.
Yeah.
It sounds very simplistic. Yeah. But you see, today we did like a good warm-up to kind of as preparation for the actual, we call them goes, like 2-minute, 3-minute goes, which is live wrestling. So there's no substitutes really for that, Yeah. But things like the battle ropes are good for that, and a lot of climbing and pulling drills. But wrestling for wrestling, I think, is it, And
in terms of your own, we'll say, inspiration, or people you looked up to into wrestling, who would that have been?
Oh, so back in the day, Roland Gardner was kind of a hero of mine, like Olympic gold medalist who beat Alexander Karelin. I was kind of inspired by that. And these days, all the young fellas like, Jordan Burroughs and Kyle Snyder and Sadylev from Russia. So there's lots of stuff on Flow Wrestling and YouTube. So watching the NCAAs is really exciting as well. So I'd be a big fan of the Iowa Hawkeyes and watching that whole kind of mentality from them.
Yeah, amazing.
You know?
So good. For anyone that's watching that would like to get in touch or to come out and try one of your classes, what days are you having them here, Team Ryano?
We're Team Ryano Saturdays at 11. If anyone couldn't make it here, you could contact the Irish Amateur Wrestling Association on the website or on Facebook, and they could hook them up with a local club. They're everywhere from Letterkenny down to Cavan, all over the country is a wrestling club.
Brilliant. And finally, before I let you go, what's the most important piece of information, or what have you learned the most through your wrestling? What's the one kind of life lesson that it's taught you?
Perseverance and having that mentality not to give up, keep driving, keep pushing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Good stuff. Well, what a perfect note to leave our interview on. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the
You're
time.
welcome. Nice talking to you.
Bill McCann for MMA Connect TV.
Thank
you
you
very much,
Thanks.
Bill. Cheers. Thank you.